The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
It's the West Tigers podcast, episode number 443. Always a real pleasure to do a post-victory edition of the podcast. 42 points to 26, the final score in the first trial of the year up against the Roosters in Newcastle. Trailed 16-12 at the break. After 20 minutes, most West Tigers fans pulling their hair out if they had any hair, or certainly frustrated, certainly worried, but we came home strongly. Josh is here, Declan's here, Jordan is here, and we're going to start off the traditional way, which is one word. Declan, I'll throw to you first. One word for that 42-26 win over the Roosters.
Hi, Joe. My one word is connectivity. I think that for a trial, like the two things you're looking for is that everyone's on the same page and kind of knows their role within the team, especially for the first trial when it's kind of, this is probably the first time a lot of those guys have played together in an actual game against different opposition. So, and then you're just hoping that like someone kind of like, you know, like sticks their hand up and shows a bit of class and quality, which I think happened with you guys. But yeah, I was kind of worried a little bit that like I felt like sometimes last year, even the first grade team didn't quite know what their role was within the team. But I thought that like this young team looked really well organized. Like Madden did a really good job of like kicking, getting us in the right position. Hayward, when he came on, he was really, really good. Everyone was kind of offloading and like being alert to offloads and reacting well and like running in the right space, which I think is a really good sign. So yeah, I think everyone was just on the right page and knew what they needed to do, which came in some really good tries, which was good.
Connectivity, everybody pulling in the same direction. Yeah, I really like that. Jordan is making his debut for the year, first one for 2026. Hello, sir. What have you got for us?
How you doing, guys? I'm going to go with youth. I think a lot of what we saw yesterday was our youth standing up. We all noticed the difference in hookers once Hayward came on, and then we all saw that magnificent finish from Tavana, which was incredible. But there were some young forwards and like Tapau Moores, but also one that caught my attention. And I keep looking at his name, and I always end up forgetting it. But that's because he's got two first and last name. Is Luke Jack?
Yes,
the 21. I actually was quite impressed from what I saw with him. Just a bit of a hard nose, ran hard, hit hard, and yeah, just some good youth on show, which was great to see.
On my notes next to Luke Jack, I've got busy. I thought he was busy. I thought that was good, good to see. Yeah, and you know, it's great to see these guys that you've never seen play before. You don't know what to expect at all, and to come away and think, you know, I can see a little bit in that guy, or I really like what that player brought, etc. How about for you, Josh? So we've got connectivity, we've got youth. What did you go for?
My one word is Makasini. I thought that was really the star performance of the day. Not just the 3 tries, but the big runs out of his own end. The fact that he was taking on, you know, if you check out the 4 centers in that match, they were all more experienced first graders, and he was up against Tommy Talau, who's played 60, 70 first grade games, and he just blew them away across field. He looked like a man playing against boys, except now he was actually playing against men. So, yeah, definitely. My one word for the week was Makasini.
Well, I reckon we'll talk about Makasini straight off my one word, which is potential, which I think, you know, on the West Tigers podcast forum, that word has come up. I've got all the listings for all the contributions of the one words after the win, but potential. And what I've got written next to potential on my notes is there's probably 5 prospects in that team, which are probably still 12 months off. A couple of guys that are going to get a go earlier, I think. But if you look at putting another year into some of those guys, there's some really green shoots and some really real things to be optimistic about. But let's start with Makasini. It was a dominant performance, Declan. I've got here ready. I thought he was really physical. I thought he was making plenty of meters when he had the ball. And apparently, you know, Skelton is in some potential doubt for round 2. I mean, I think he's too good to not play.
Yeah, I think that the thing with Macassini is that Skelton might be like the safer option because he's obviously played more first grade games and his floor is probably a bit higher. But I think with Macassini, he's definitely got more of that kind of X factor. Like he kind of reminds me of like a little bit of Selwyn Cobbo when he first onto the scene at the Broncos. Like he's obviously going to make mistakes, but he can kind of just flip a game on its head. So I would be really tempted to pick him on the wing just on that basis. But I was really surprised at center. It was actually really good defensively
Yeah.
as well. Like he shut down a few plays. Like he was really like positive in his defense. Like he was up at people. Like usually sometimes with inexperienced side backs is they kind of just wait and let the problem kind of get worse. But he was quite aggressive, which was really, really good. And then, yeah, when he went on the wing, like, he probably didn't have to do too much for those tries, but his like kind of work coming out of yardage was just something that like obviously every winger needs. So yeah, I'd be really tempted to pick him for round two. It's funny though because he came up against like Tommy Talau and then Junior Tupou, which was like the ghosts of West Tigers outside back. just to go through them, it was kind of like okay, well this guy he's clearly got something else because like he's kind of probably like ruined Tommy Talau's chances of playing for the Roosters this year in first grade. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It wasn't lost on me that probably the three Roosters players that had some key and costly mistakes were all ex-West Tigers players out in that back line. But 18 still is Macassini. Jordan, it's when you see a guy that stands out, you kind of go, he's going to be all right. I think he'll be all right in first grade. But where do you sit in terms of that danger of putting a guy in too early? Like, is he different? I think he might be.
I think he might be different. The crazier part is you look at him like he's a big dude already. He is a big dude, but as you said, he's 18 years old. He's still got to fill out.
Yeah.
He's his presence, like his try where he got outside Tupou, that hesitation is purely based on his size. Tupou knows hitting him side on is not going to make a difference. So I think he is different in that sense. He seems to have a bit of presence. From what Declan was saying defensively, what I did like, he was aggressive, but at the right times he didn't overcommit.
Yep.
He didn't make it overlaps possible because he did hold off for a moment just to see where the ball was going to go, and then he'd make the right decision, which is very, very hard in centre. For me, as a coaching point of view and dealing with juniors myself, centre is the hardest position to defend.
Yeah.
Because if anyone on your outs or on your inside basically makes an error, you've got to equate for it. So defending at centre is really, really difficult. And he had a lot of upside to his defence yesterday. And against more regular NRL centres might be a bit different, but it at least shows the age and the maturity and the foresight in the game. So that proves a bit of a difference for an 18-year-old.
There's also a rumor around Josh that Stafford Toa might be struggling with that elbow injury as well. Apparently, he didn't have surgery, so this all might be moot, and there might be a spot just automatically for Macassini in round one, but round two. But what are your thoughts on the performance? Obviously, you went for him with your word. Very, very impressed. But are you roll the dice, play him in first grade, or hold him back?
Look, generally, I think you should hold juniors back, but I think there's occasions when you just have someone who's so much class, you have to get them in.
Yeah.
I don't think we can say that, Skelton's solid and does a good job, but it's not like he's an international wing or anything. I think you've just got to get Macassini in. I mean, the Roosters did it with Joseph Suawali. You've seen it for the Tigers many years ago with Tim Brasher. If you've got an 18-year-old kid who's sensational, you've just got to get them in and roll the dice. So, yeah, I'd have him there in round one.
Okay. So definitely a wonderful resource that we've found at the West Tigers, Macassini. Fingers crossed it turns out and he has the career that it looks like he's going to have. It would be enormous for the club if he does end up being that player. A couple of the other guys that really stood out, I thought Adard, although he still, to me, looks to be lacking a little bit of size, a little bit of strength. He's still young, still filling out. I saw some really nice touches. He looked safe under the high ball. I think there was just that one incident where he tried to catch the ball on the full, but it might have, with a bit more experience, you might have been a positional issue, might have let it bounce. But Declan, what did you think of Adard? I was really impressed. I liked what I saw.
Yeah, he kind of built on the trial, the New South Wales Cup trial that he played the week before. And yeah, I was really impressed with him. And he was playing in a point in the game where we didn't really have like a lot of go forward. So he played like most of the first half, a little bit of the second half. But like it wasn't when the ruck was really, really quick, which I think that, Logan Brooks probably benefited more from. But on Aaron himself, like he nearly scored a try just off like a great right foot step. He's clearly stronger than his size suggests, which is really, really good to see. And he's got that explosive speed, which is like a little bit different to Bula in the sense that he can get to like 100% speed much, much quicker. And it was interesting as well because it looked like he was just like the playmaker on the right side,
Yeah.
the same way that Bula is. So I thought that was really interesting from like how the team is going to like start in round two from an attacking point of view. And then he came on to the left every now and again when there was like a set move to give Makasini early ball. And yeah, I thought like defensively as well, like young players, like I think the easy thing to do is when like they're not confident is to let the ball bounce. But as we've seen many times, that just kind of like invites disappointment into your life. So I think it's a really good kind of attribute to attack the ball rather than let it bounce. Like although like he did, obviously he probably should have let that one bounce that led to that almost try. I think that the intent of confidence is really, really good. And just from like a long term perspective, it kind of made me think like, well, like how much do we really need to like offer Bula? Like is this kind of like we can like obviously we want to keep Bula because he's a established first grade player, but like if we're gonna in a position where we have to pay Bula like 1 million plus, or we can keep Bula for 1 more year, then someone like Adard is like another year developed. That could be like a more um that option looks a little bit better to me at this point. So yeah, just something to keep an eye on because yeah, he did look pretty good.
It's pretty good to have a plan B, isn't it, Jordan? I mean, obviously, Adard's still very young, needs at least another 12 months, but there's the potential there of there's a player there, I reckon.
He's an elusive mover. That he's got a wicked step on him, but his ability to strafe at the back, like a couple of the tries where he linked in as that extra pass, made all the difference.
Yeah.
And like the thing was, compared to years gone by when we do those kind of movements, he actually stands exceptionally deep. And like there was one pass that I actually thought it was not going to get to him, but he
Yeah.
managed to get his hands out to it and get it away. But he stands exceptionally deep. That one that he dropped, I think that was just unfortunate. Like he was running towards it, it just dipped on him. So you can put that down just to youthful error. But he's elusive. He's very quick. He has the ability to move around, and he keeps himself busy. So I I think there's definitely an option there for a player. You are right; he needs to bulk up probably a little bit. He looks very lean. Um, but yeah, it is good to have a nice backup, and we saw that we probably have a good backup in a few different positions for New South Wales Cup this year, which is great.
Yeah, I think it just shows like if you look at someone like Reece Walsh, where like it's not that he's just like the quickest from like 10 to 100, like or not like, from like 100 meters. It's not that he's the quickest there. It's just that he can just turn it on like that and he's gone, and he's just got that explosiveness to go through. And yes, like obviously Reece Walsh is like really really strong as well, which is something Adam needs to work on. But I just think that that's kind of the way these fullbacks are going these days, where you just need to be able to turn it on like really, really quickly where the space is, as opposed to someone like Bula, where like he's probably quicker than Arad over 100 meters, but he takes a little bit of a stride to get going 100%. So just interesting. Obviously, Bula is like more of an athlete because he's taller, better in the air, more experienced. But yeah, it's just interesting how they are quite different players. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that unfolds this season.
It really changes everything when you're negotiating and you've got a plan B and you're okay with the plan B. So let's see what happens and see what develops. Josh, on the last podcast, we were talking a little bit about Patrick Herbert. You were saying you expect him to see a bit of first grade this year. I thought he was pretty safe. You could see he was experienced, not overly dynamic. What did you make of Herbert's first game in our colours?
Yeah, I think that's a good description. And you've got to remember he hasn't played first grade or probably footy for 2 or 3 years. So this is kind of his first game back against NRL players. I thought he was solid, as you said, did the basics right. I still think he'll play a bit of first grade this year. Look, he's not a guy who's going to come out and win you the comp. But if someone's injured, you want a good, solid backup. And I think Patrick Herbert looked like that'll be him. And especially surrounded by a heap of kids. That they probably haven't trained together much, combination wise. Obviously, the young guys who have kind of played together in the juniors kind of showed good combination. But for someone like him coming in, probably hasn't spent much time with them in those kind of combinations. I thought he was solid and did a good job. His defense was okay. He ran the ball hard. He was solid. I think that's probably all we could ask after in his first game back.
And look, I mean, you probably compare him to the guy that he's probably replaced, Brent Naden, where, if what I saw of Patrick Herbert, he can replicate week after week, which is consistent, not giving away silly penalties, turning up and performing at a certain level consistently, then we've probably traded up, haven't we? He might not be as flashy as Naden occasionally is, but, it seems like it might be a pretty good deal that we've done.
And you do lose the Brent Naden brain explosions that happen every game. So that's always a positive.
Yeah. And the more he seems to try not to do it, the more he seems to do it. Now we've only got Seyfarth with the brain explosions. Let's have a quick look at the West Tigers podcast forum one-word submissions. Tiger Stu went for depth. We thought we had it. We saw it. Now we believe it. Peter A's word is depth. Players that can put pressure on first graders. Also great to see a happy group of players. Mac Tiger's word was un-Tigers. It was an un-Tigers-like performance. We toughed it out with and without the ball, didn't panic and supported each other. Snake said halfback. Jock is the first genuine half we've had in years. And he says, over to you, AD. So that's good. A little bit of pressure on each other. Teddy S regrouped after a poor first 20 minutes. Osmo7's word was hope. Not Tristan, but for the season. Better options being found than Hope and Mason. Tigersman promising an honourable mention for the work of Charlie Murray. Tiger Alex pressure. Some of these guys will put pressure on the top squad. And Tiger Symmetry composure. Never looked overawed or despondent. Savannah Declan is a name that is definitely not a household name at this stage, but he's been everywhere in the last 24 hours after that remarkable performance. But apparently he's got some skills in his kit bag that he brings out, like what we saw in scoring that amazing try.
Yeah, I mean, he's been kind of a probably like a not like a star, but like online he's developed a bit of a reputation for like scoring like really like impressive athletic tries and like Jersey flag especially. I think like he's 22 years old, so he's clearly a bit of a late developer. I think he even spent a little time in the Brumby system, like at some point, and he's come back to league. So I wasn't when I saw him named, like I knew like what he could do, but I also knew that he was quite raw. And I think we got the full spectrum of like where he's at, because he was a little bit late getting back on time for that first try that Roosters scored. Like obviously that's me nitpicking, because when you score tries like that one he scored, then like like he's clearly got something about him. So yeah, like if he can continue to just like work on, like it's more like the one percenters that make you a first grade player. I could definitely see him like coming in, being a depth player at some point this year. And just really good to watch. I can't believe he got that ball. Actually, when I saw it, like when I saw that he was celebrating, I was like, oh, like he can like pull something like that out. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually got that down. But yeah, I'm really happy for him, because I think the trials, and now that everything's on TV as opposed to back in the day, like these kind of like lower grade players who are like coming up, they do get their flowers, which I really think is great, that they might not necessarily get during the season because not as many people watch the reserve grade. So yeah, just really happy for him that he's got his moment in the sun, and hopefully he scores a few more tries like that for us this year.
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought obviously that moment is spectacular, and I did watch him a bit in flag last year, and there were those spectacular moments. My concern is, as Declan kind of mentioned, the turn in defence. When he was running the ball up, he was kind of getting pushed back. Like it's kind of that balance. He actually does the really spectacular stuff really well, but can he do the other stuff? And is he strong enough and big enough for a winger in today's game? That's one of the questions, but it was spectacular. It was fantastic to watch. So that was definitely a highlight.
It was a highlight, and there was another highlight up that end of the field. Your friend Will Craig with his attempted goal kick, Josh. I was not going to let that go past. That was the worst attempted kick I've ever seen.
Look, I feel like it's good for Will Craig to get a highlight that's going to be remembered for a while, because that may be the only one. So he'll always have that moment.
Jordan, one of the things that I look for in a player, especially a half, is when it feels like they've got time on their side. Like they've got it doesn't seem rushed. That they seem to be able to sort of control what's going on around them pretty well. And I thought Javon Andrews showed a lot of composure, a cool head, and he was pretty much welded in on that left side. But I think there's some potential there with this young man.
Yeah, it's been documented that he's had a bit of a rough trot the last few years, just with his early footy career. But there was plenty there. The thing that impressed me most, there was one in particular. A player made a break straight through, and he took him down. It was almost like a judo throw, but
Mm,
his defense was pretty on point. I was impressed with that because if he doesn't make that tackle, they probably score again, and we're looking at a 20-point deficit instead of 16.
yep.
So he's got potential. He has very soft hands,
Mm,
very very deceptive soft hands, which is what you want from a half because you don't want that one who throws it into the chest and then it bounces 10 meters forward. But he
yeah.
had very very soft hands, very clear direction of where he wanted the ball to be and go. So yeah, I like the look of him. He's got probably another 12, 18 months before he becomes a first grade threat. But in saying that, he's definitely the kind of type that Benji might even throw in the ring this year if
Mm.
he's proves himself worthy.
Yeah, you'd think there's a couple of players in front of him, but yeah, you wouldn't be surprised if he plays some part at some stage in the year. Declan, I thought the only thing is that he was maybe a little bit pass happy. I'd like to see him run a bit more because he's a big body.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I was gonna say as well. Like he's got like great finesse with the ball. There was one with Makasini as well where like Tlau just managed to get a touch on it. But if it went to Makasini, he probably would have scored as well because um Andres just managed to like hold it up just well enough before he passed it. I think as well, like the only game I saw Andrews play was in that under 19s Origin game, which
Yeah.
was really like block shape heavy. It looks like he's kind of been asked to more play a little bit flatter, which is probably why he's had some like good moments of class, but I wouldn't say he's been like as like dialed in as like when I saw him in that Origin game. So I think that
Mm.
would just take time. I agree with you, Joe. I'd like to see him run the ball because that'll just open more up for him. And Madden was also doing like the majority of the kicking as well. So he wasn't getting involved from that end. But like from a young player, I think he did everything that you'd expect of him. Like he defended well, he showed a bit of class, good connection with Nakasini, and there's definitely something to work there with. And then hopefully as he gets more experience this year, he'll run the ball a little bit more. And then I do think we could see him like with a debut at some point this year because he like in terms of his like body composition. Like he does look like he's like got the size where you could play
Mm.
first grade this year without going through another preseason. So yeah, but I think there's so much potential there, and I think that's probably been a little bit harsh because we know that he's got definitely the talent to be a first grade player.
Yeah, yeah. There's a player there. I think. Jock Madden. We've seen Jock Madden before. Mostly sort of played off the bench. I know he started a few games for us, but he's come back, Josh, from the Broncos. I think a better player, more rounded player. How could you not? You go up to one of the best systems. You're playing and learning from Reynolds and the like. I mean, you come back. You're a little bit older as well. I like that he was popping up on both sides of the field. Kicking game was pretty good as well. He's going to put pressure on Dewey, I think.
I felt like it was good to see, we were talking last week about having lots of 5'8s. Well, we have a real halfback in Jock Madden. And as you said, I don't expect him to start the season, but he kicked really well. He found the ground with almost all his kicks. Like the,
Mm.
the positioning of those were great. He led the team around the park. He put blokes in good positions. He set up a couple of tries. I mean, you couldn't ask more for a guy who was captain on the day, probably the experienced player. But as you said, he's been in Brisbane. He's learnt off Adam Reynolds. He's come back to spend time with Benji and Jerome. I reckon he's got, as injuries strike or these things happen, I think he'll come in and do a really good job as the year goes on.
And he kick conversions really well,
Mm.
also, which is something that we don't always have. So yeah, it's something to keep in mind.
Jordan, obviously we're up against a much more, a significantly better team this time around against Penrith. But do you give Jock Madden some time? Maybe Dewey first half, Jock Madden second half, see how he goes with Luai. See what it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. The thing I think actually Jock Madden was probably one of the most important players for us yesterday. We were getting dominated by the Roosters in the forward pack. Like they had few more experienced forwards,
Yeah,
but they
big
were
boys.
rolling. Oh yeah, and
Mm,
they were rolling up the field, and that's what was hurting us.
mm.
But his kicks in the corner and the ones that were finding the ground, as Josh said, that turned them around. And in warmer conditions and everything else, that started to wear them down. And you saw that, like even when Roosters made their change, when we started to get back on top, Robinson started making changes and bringing those players at the start back on because he could see that we were just wearing them down, which is not a very Tigers thing to do.
Yeah.
But that kicking game turned it around, and I'd actually like to see that against a more first grade heavy trial against Penrith.
Mm.
Dewey's got a big kicking game, but I thought Jock had a smarter one.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any chance that Dewey plays 13 if Madden goes really well? Is there any guys got any love for that?
I think it
Oh,
should have been. I think that should have been the first option. If it wasn't for the Latu being
Yeah.
injured, I genuinely think Adam should have been the 13 for the whole preseason. To be honest,
Right.
I think if we struggle like offensively the first like few rounds, I could see that being the first switch to come in. But I would be very surprised. Like Benji pretty much said that like Dewey's going to be the 7 going into round 2.
Mm.
But yeah, you never know. If Jock Baden just comes in and like we smashed Penrith like a full strength Penrith team, then you can't really like dismiss that, can you? So yeah, I mean, no, it was good though. It was good to see him back in the club though. I agree with everyone. Like it looks like he's really developed at the Broncos and just like getting like a good consistent amount of like Queensland Cup as well, which is kind of considered like a little bit better the New South Wales Cup. So yeah, like it definitely showed the experience, and he'll definitely play 7 for us like quite a bit this year probably.
Yeah, great resource. Good signing. I mean, I don't think we broke the bank to get him and to have him there as a backup, as compared to a Brandon Wakeham or some of the guys we've had the last few years. Like it seems to be a real ace up our sleeve, Josh.
do we think that with Latu out for the first 4 or 5 weeks, if Madden plays well again next week, could he come onto the bench and do that 14 role and give Appy 15 minutes and then be available to replace the halves? I mean, he's got skills. He can, he should be able to play hooker.
Yeah, I'm sure he's played hooker before. Off the bench and filled in there. So yeah, I could see that happening for sure. And probably worse decisions to make given that he's got a bit of first grade experience as well. Jordan.
I'm trying to avoid Heath Mason too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think Charlie Murray put his hand up for that sort of kind of 14 role because he played prop, he played back row, he played hooker. I think he actually put his hand up to be that sort of kind of 14 utility, but also you're not losing anything with the forward. But now the other issue you have is how do you operate this whole 6-man bench system?
Yeah.
So you've now do you go with, like you obviously can go with 4 forwards and have an extra thing and make your changes depending on how the game goes. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but in the end it could actually be beneficial for some teams. If you lose a back in the game, you can rotate and make a change and use one of those backs instead, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a big part of the game is picking the right players and having that players that are versatile but effective across multiple positions. Charlie Murray, yeah, I've got in my notes here that I thought he looked like he'd filled out a bit. He looked a bit more solid than last year, and he's not an impact player. But I thought he had a nice offload a couple of times, and there were some pretty good signs.
Yeah, I thought he was really solid. I mean, it's interesting because like the quality of like the Roosters team, like we'd taken the approach of we'll name like our reserve grade players, then a lot of guys that haven't really played first grade yet who are still at that SG ball level. But the Roosters played a lot of guys who'd played that 1 year of NRL, but were still kind of in that New South Wales Cup level. And at that level, Murray really looked good. Like he was able to like generate some like second phase play, which is really, really good. Like good defensively. He had a good try as well, where like Madden ran it on the last. So he was dynamic in that sense. I think that he was kind of in my starting like 17 before this new bench came in, just purely because like he can play lock and hooker. So he had that utility value. So I'm not really sure how that changes, but just purely we don't have like a lot of great options. I'm a bit similar in the fact that I don't love Heath Mason at the moment coming off the bench. And then with Latu injured, who would have been starting for me at that 14th spot, I think Charlie Murray, he's probably like makes the most logical sense to play that utility role, because then you still have a middle forward as well if everything goes to plan. But then he can kind of just come in and make his tackles to replace Happy. So I think like he's probably done himself a lot of benefit to start in round two.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'm surprised you had him that high up as in your 17 to start the season. But yeah, I think Benji's a fan. I'd probably pick him over Seyfarth, to be honest, myself. But, I'm not the world's greatest Seyfarth fan at the best of times. What about Kitley Lilly? Jordan, there's been times where we've let young forwards, young props go, and then they've matured somewhere else. Maybe Tom McHaley is an example, perhaps. Is he worth sticking with, do you think, Kit? Is there something there?
The kid has potential. That's the frustrating part. And you saw that try and the way he ran, and he's a nuggety style and he has that ability to be impact. But from something I saw at a preseason training, he is incredibly unfit.
Right.
Like with when they do this sort of kind of running drill at the end of training, and if one player doesn't make it, the whole team gets punished. And at the end, literally the entire team was behind him, pushing him. And I mean,
Right.
physically pushing him to try and make the time. Um, it was a hot day, and certain people don't do well in the heat, and that's fine. I think he has massive potential, but he doesn't seem to have the right application for a consistent NRL player.
Mm.
So it could be, wasted talent, or he needs to be in a system, or he needs a change for a wake up.
Mm.
But especially now with his brother leaving, I don't see him being at the club past this season.
Yeah, it seems to be what the feeling is. Josh, you've put a line comprehensively through Will Craig and Heath Mason. What about Tristan Hope? Not to see NRL this year, hopefully.
Look, I made my notes and I had Tristan Hope, no hope.
No.
That's kind of where I think that's at. And I think what I really noticed is Hayward came on and obviously he's missed the first 2 minutes, but
everything.
it changed the speed of the game. It changed the whole match for us. We talked a little bit about, the backup. Look, if Appy goes down, we'll probably have to find someone else because Hayward's young. But if I had to choose between Hope and Hayward, I'm throwing Hayward in, every week. I thought Hope, he's a solid kind of Queensland Cup, New South Wales Cup, makes his tackles, runs around, but his passing isn't as good. He just doesn't have the same energy. I think, as you said, I've kind of got rid of Will Craig. Heath Mason's on the edge, and Tristan Hope is no hope. So, gone.
Only the second podcast, and you've already got your own shredder, and you're putting these guys through the shredder already. Declan, Hayward, we obviously let TDS go because this guy seemed to be a potential player for the future. I was really impressed. I thought he was really good.
Yeah, I was super impressed by him. I always kind of thought that he was going to be a slow burn, which is why last pod I went the unders on like how many first grade games he played. I think it was 5, but like just based on the difference he made, like, and he's already like it's quite clear that he probably adds. Well, he definitely adds much more than Hope does. Then like it might be more than like 5 games he plays, because he's probably at this point like the second best hooker at the club already, like before a ball's been kicked for the actual proper season. And yeah, just like what everyone else said, like he just like even when he's not like running the ball, like his speed that he gets to his playmakers is like really, really good. He's just more of an like you can tell that he holds up the markers better. And then like he looked really comfortable when everyone was offloading around him as well. Like sometimes the playmakers can get a little bit frazzled, but he just like he knew when to like push another offload or spread the ball, and he like kind of knew when to like settle it. And then when he got a little bit of open field play for that try he scored, he was athletic enough to get it done, get over the line, beat the guy, and then put the ball down under the post, which was what I was always a little bit kind of worried with, because coming through the grades, I thought that Talon De Silva was much more athletic, but Hayward was like smarter, if that makes sense, because Hayward he was originally a half. He played a lot of half for like Black Town Patrician Brothers and the GIO Cup as well. So that's kind of he has a little bit of a different background. And then Talon was just like an athletic freak coming through. So it's really good to see that Hayward's kind of like worked on that, and that like even like at this like level, he looks like he's like quick enough and like kind of like has that X factor to be able to make something happen when there's a bit of space. So and like he's definitely smart enough as a, like an IQ perspective to play in NRL. The only thing I think that like defensively, I think that try that Javon Andrews stopped was kind of Hayward's fault. Like he kind of like the guy stepped onside and then managed to like palm his chest, and that's what created the line break. So that was just one thing. Like defensively, he did really well, but I think he was only asked to make 12 or 14 tackles. But like when you play first grade, like we've seen Ape, he's had to make like 50 plus tackles in the first grade like spot. So that's probably going to be the big test for him going forward, is just to like be defensively sound all the time when he does play first grade. But like offensively, he showed that he's definitely really, really close.
He would be in my like 5 or 6 prospects that we saw that I think needs at least another 12 months, ideally. Jordan, do you see Hayward? We haven't discussed him, you and I, or us. We haven't discussed him in terms of 2026. Did you like what you see? Do you think he jumped Tristan Hope as a backup or a potential backup? Or, how do you see his year panning out?
I don't think he's jumped Hope yet. He still needs to fill out as well. He is still quite petite for a hooker. He's got good attacking finesse. Everything you've seen in the junior grades, he's got a good footy brain. I know a lot of fans weren't happy letting De Silva go, but if you watch the trial from today, there's literally one try the Sharks scored. De Silva literally watches the bloke run past him.
Right.
So defensively, I think that'll come as he builds and gets a bit more maturity in his footy career. But he's not the type of player I'd be throwing in this year just yet. The problem with Hope is he's too slow. He doesn't bring players onto the ball. He is there's sometimes, and I know people go, oh, he passed the ball quick, but he's still very indecisive. That extra 1 or 2 seconds that he does takes away a lot of time for your offensive players to get a move on.
Yep.
I think, in all honesty, I actually don't think probably Hope will end up being our backup hooker. I think it'll be more Latu or Murray as the year goes on.
Yep.
But I wouldn't be throwing Hayward in this year unless we had some serious injuries in the hooker department.
Yep. Give him a bit more time, but he looks to be somebody that's well worth sticking with and to be excited about for 2027 and beyond. Anybody else in the forwards, or anybody else? I mean, we mentioned Jack, of course, busy. What about the redhead Logan Brooks? I thought he also was a bit of a willing customer, Josh.
Yeah, I thought he was good. I mean, you come on in that last 20 minutes of a kind of second grade, as it kind of was trial. The game does open up a bit, but he put on a good step to score a try. He ran it back hard. I watched him in flag last year when he came in. He kind of changed the game for the team down there in flag. My thoughts are, though, he's probably a fullback, and with that hard kind of starring, kind of where do they both fit? Like, I'm not sure. They're about the same age. We've signed out hard for 3 more years, so I don't know where they sit there.
Like Brooks looks like quite a little bit bigger though. Like could he transition like a center or a winger maybe? I'm not sure, but yeah, I do get what you mean. Like it's good competition though, because like we obviously like prioritize the one that looks best in the New South Wales Cup, and that's clearly going to make them both like better players. So yeah, but yeah, Brooks was really good. I was impressed with him also.
I thought Tapau Moores and Broadalow looked decent.
Yep.
Tapau Moores actually looked better as the game went on. Early in the game, he looked like he was a bit gassed in the first early minutes, considering he was meant to start on the bench, but then they put him in the starting squad. I thought he looked decent, but the thing I liked about the two of them was their size. They had good size, body frame. Broadalow, even though he only made 7 runs, he actually made more post-contact meters than most of the forwards. So he has good leg drive. He's got good strength. So there's an opportunity there for us to have some forward backup and at least some size and maybe some forwards that can learn to dominate the ruck as the years go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Tapau Moores was good. And as you said, I thought in that first 20 minutes, like he's coming up against blokes who have played 10, 15 first grade games last year, and he's kind of coming out for his first game, and he's what, 18, 19. I thought that's a big effort. And obviously the team were trying to give him the chance to do that. So I thought he was good. As you said, I thought Broadalow has definitely bulked up and seemed to do well in the middle. I was actually really impressed with Tony Suker on the edge. I mean, I know he's played first grade last year, but he ran hard. When he hit people, they looked hit. He looked a bit bulkier, a bit stronger, like on the edge. So I thought he was solid without being spectacular. As last year, he probably wasn't quite as solid. So yeah, I thought that was good. So, yeah.
Declan, would you say a takeaway from it is that we're going to be at least stronger in New South Wales Cup this year?
Yeah, I think that's fair. If nothing else, like obviously it's a trial, and like none of the first grade players, well, most of them weren't playing. But if you look at like years gone past, we have kind of struggled in this game because we haven't had the depth. And I think particularly those Spain players we saw today, like I think it was a conscious effort by the club to add that depth and be more competitive in New South Wales Cup, because I think that's something that Richardson said that like in his first year was that the Magpies came last as well. So like when the first grade team is struggling, like you can't really replace them with anyone because there's no one like putting their hand up in like reserve grade. So yeah, I think that there's lots of depth, like in terms of like the potential like NRL players as well. But then like the flag team has been pretty good for the last few years as well, and I think a lot of those guys will play like in New South Wales Cup this year as well. So I think we should be considerably better in that department in second grade, hopefully.
What about Jordan? The perspective or the opinion that as compared to the last 4 or 5 years, we've now maybe got more pressure on the guys that are considered our first choice players. Like, the good teams have typically got someone putting some pressure on them somewhere, and we haven't necessarily had that very often. Like, is that a good sort of comparison to make compared to our weaker years? We've actually got some options.
Definitely, because we can at least now go that we've got some first grade players playing New South Wales Cup. It's that attitude that Penrith has, that next man up attitude over the years. But we can at least now put players on our 21 squad and not look at the last 2 or 3 players and go, who?
Yep.
So but it also, for me, with that, when you've got those younger players coming through and you've got players who are proving themselves in New South Wales Cup, you start to get excited from the fact of, and not saying getting excited for injuries, but you start getting excited for the fact that if we're not doing well and you see that player on the team sheet, you can start to go, are they going to get a chance? Are we going to see something different? You start to actually talk about players who you think should be coming through or getting a chance in first grade because they're doing well in New South Wales Cup, where previously the last 3, 4, 5 years even, our New South Wales Cup, there has really been no one down that we go, I can't wait to see them make that jump.
Yep. Josh, is it time to give the club a bit of a pat on the back for the investment in the juniors, in the pathways? Is this some of the, and it's only a trial win, but is this some recognition of the hard work that's been done in the last 3 or 4 years to bring these young players through, and are we starting to see the fruit of that labour?
Yeah, I think we are, and I think it's a good combination of guys that we've brought through the lower grades, and also some younger players we've brought in. We've brought in Andrews from Queensland, but we kind of had him there for a while over some years. We've signed Jack Attard, which is I think a good youth signing, but we've brought Hayward through. We're starting to see Tapau Moores, Godinay played yesterday. I think the club does deserve a bit of a pat on the back. Richo, the guy from cricket who came over and was in charge of the footy for a while, and obviously Shannon Gallant and Bronson Harrison in the juniors. I think that they've done a good job, and we're starting to see the fruits of that. So hopefully it continues.
Yeah, 100%. So important for the club, not just in the short term, but medium and long term as well, to keep bringing those players through. We've got all these great, all these juniors. We've got to keep developing them, identifying them, and developing them into first graders. Royce Hunt had a game in the for the Maori in the game against the Indigenous All Stars. Now, the stats, Declan, say that he only played 12 minutes, but I watched the game, or I watched most of the game, and he seemed to be on for much more than 12 minutes. I don't know if that stat is true, but it says he made 5 runs, 48 meters. Did you catch the game? Did you see Royce's contribution?
I had it on in the background, and he started the game. He had a few good runs, but then I think that Fisher Harris played like the majority. Like he had a big stint, and then he came off at the very end, and then Royce Hunt went back on. So I don't think Royce played like massive minutes, and I'm not sure how impactful he was in the second stint. But because I think Leo Thompson pulled it early,
Yeah.
pulled it at the last minute, and he was supposed to start. So there's clearly like a reshuffle there in terms of maybe the minutes that Hunt was supposed to play. So I'm not sure. Like he's done like it would have been good if he played like 50 minutes so that we could kind of put to bed like his fitness. But it looks like those question marks might still be there going into next week.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too convinced on those stats. I mean, it also says that Trey Mooney only played 13 minutes. So the
Right.
fact that it's saying the 2 starting props played 20 minutes or 25 minutes between them, I don't think is quite right. So maybe the NRL stopped watching after the first few minutes and didn't update them. So, yeah.
Look, 5 runs and 22 tackles in 12 minutes. That's a hell of an effort for a big forward.
Yeah, that's true. He was busy, but he wasn't that busy.
No.
Definitely one of the things that I'm looking forward to seeing this year is how Royce Hunt goes. But this trial against the Panthers, Declan, I'll throw it straight back to you. What are you most looking forward to seeing? What interests you the most when it comes to taking on, our NRL, pretty much our NRL team taking on a really strong Penrith?
The thing that I'm maybe not like looking for, like obviously going to Leichhardt is always it's it's at Leichhardt, isn't it, on Friday? Yep, yep. So I think that's
It's
obviously
Campbelltown.
yeah. Oh God, no, no comment there. But I think that the thing that I'm most intrigued to see is if we can play kind of that like open style offloading, more principle based as opposed to actual structured type of footy against a really good defensive team in the Penrith Panthers, who are the exact opposite, where they're almost like robotic in the way they go about things. So just to see the kind of the conflicting ideologies and to see if we can like implement it in an effective way against someone who's probably going to like come close to winning the comp, in my opinion, this year. That's what I'm going to be really intrigued to see, and hopefully it gels as well as it did for the second graders. And the first graders kind of show that like they're all on the same page as well in terms of that connectivity kind of thing I spoke about at the start of the pod.
Yeah, yeah. Jordan, we the fans are up and buoyant and optimistic. It's an important game for the club, isn't it, to put in a good showing against the Panthers?
Yeah, definitely. Considering we are going to see potentially full strength, I assume we're going to see full strength on Friday. We need to show that what we've sort of kind of been touting over the off season, and the team's gelling well, and it's all good to have team culture and that everyone's bouncing around and being happy, but it means absolutely nothing if the results don't turn up on the field. The thing that I'm most interested to see is our red zone attack.
Mm.
We have lacked that ability to convert inside the 20. So I'll be interested to see what we've worked on, and this apparent new style that Benji's brought in, that they've got a certain way that they want to play, especially attacking wise. I was left very bemused from the couple of training sessions I've watched in opposed sessions. We don't look like we've changed much. So I don't know if they're hiding things or they're keeping that for closed sessions. I'm not sure.
Yep.
But from what I've seen, it didn't look like it changed much. We're too flat.
Yep.
And we're not playing, the halves weren't playing as direct as they should have been. Luai was doing his normal bouncing around and looking for that hole type thing. But I'll be interested more or less to see if our red zone attack has improved.
Yeah, you're bringing back memories from last year of just going side to side and not getting anywhere. But yeah, okay, that's interesting. Good points, Josh. What about for you?
I'm really looking forward to seeing how we played that lock roll. I mean, we even saw yesterday it was Tapau Moore's a big forward, and then we brought Heath Mason on kind of to play and Charlie Murray. I'm really interested to see how that goes in first grade. And we talk about styles, there's kind of the first 20 minutes when we're going to be, pushing it and it's a trial and everyone will be working hard and we'll probably have Twal on. What do we do after that, and who kind of comes on, especially with Latu out injured? I've heard some whispers that maybe it's Mav Gaia who'll be playing some lock next week. So
Okay.
I think that'll be an interesting one. And also then who comes on and kind of plays that ball play? If we are going to play a different style, who's if Dewey's not in the middle, who is playing that ball player kind of directing either side? So that's the thing I'm really interested in for Friday night. So.
I'll be interested if Mav Gaia does play. I've been to 3 training sessions since sort of kind of started January. He's been in the recovery team every time.
Right. Okay.
So I haven't seen him actually do an opposed session up to about 2 weeks ago.
There you go. The whispers could be very wrong.
Yeah.
Jordan. So, yeah.
Well, when we talk about the 13 position, Alex Twal just puts his hand up and says, "New contract, guys. Give me my 13 jersey. I'm here for the long run." I'm looking forward to seeing how we go physically. Have we improved that physicality? What does Kai Pearce-Paul bring? What does Bunty Afoa bring? Terrell May, Talon May, first full off season. I mean, hopefully they take their amazing game even slightly better. That would be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it. What about the controversial call, Jordan? If we beat the Panthers and then we've got a bye in round 1, does that make it 3 in a row? No, that's a stretch, I think.
It's I think it's too early for the 3 in a row talk at the moment. I'm praying upon all hope that we make that 3 in a row, because then it might go away. It's sort of kind of following me like a
Definitely. Like Alex Twal scoring it, when he couldn't score a try. That's what you're famous for.
the dark memories of me having a multi involving Alex Tall the week before he scored his first try. But no, I don't think that'll count in all things. That bye didn't count, so no, I don't think it will. It'll be interesting if we do get through Penrith. I hate the fact that we have the bye the first round. Twice in however many years, and there's 17 teams in the comp, is just again the NRL proving their lack of vision when it comes to the draw in certain aspects.
But I think if I look in my crystal ball and I look to in 12 months' time, I might be packing my bags and heading to Mascot and heading over the Pacific Ocean. That's my feeling to see the Tigers in Vegas in 2027. That's the gut feeling that I've got. So would you guys go?
I've been thinking about this. Like, I really wouldn't be keen to go to America, but Vegas is a bit different. I know it is America, but it's kind of Vegas.
Vegas is the worst part of America. Don't judge
I know,
America
but
by
it's
Vegas.
fine for a weekend. Look, I think I'd love to go. I'm not sure how my wife would feel about that, but I'm very keen to go. It's kind of a once in a lifetime experience. So yeah, love to be there.
Yeah, it is once in a lifetime for sure. Yeah. We'll wait and see. I think it'd be exciting. I think it'd be exciting for the club, but we'll see what happens. Last question. What did we make of the jersey? We all watched it on TV. None of you guys went up. I thought it looked good. I thought it looked a lot better than it does as when you see just the stationary picture of it, Declan.
Yeah, I actually ordered mine and it came in on Friday, and it looks much better like in real life than it does like on TV, and it looked good on the TV as well. But just like I think they've just done a really good job of like kind of like how the jersey's designed in terms of like the good material, and it fits really well. So I was really impressed with it. I think I gave it like a 4 out of 5 when you asked me before, but I think I would move that up to like 4.5 just seeing it like in person. So
yeah, I thought it looked great on the TV, especially as I said last week. The jersey always looks better when you're winning, and we were winning, so I thought it looked fantastic. But it really kind of stood out. I thought it looked good, so I'll probably off to get one this week.
The way it blends in with the shorts is probably one of the best parts. Like, it is probably one of the most all-together jerseys out there. I'll be interested to see how the white jersey comes out on TV, but at least we actually look like the Tigers and not like the Raiders who look like the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that was really funny though. Yeah, that jersey that they wore in that trial. If you squinted it slightly, it looked like the Bulldogs for sure. All right, boys, thank you very much for the pod tonight, and we will wait and see what the team is on Tuesday. We might try and do a pod in the middle of the week to talk about the Panthers game. So thanks a lot, guys.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
Anytime. Thanks, mate.